Welcome to Mental Health Dumpster Fire. My name is Courtney Laver, licensed clinical social worker.
And I am Jess Miller, art therapist.
We are two therapists with opinions, and we're going to tell you what those opinions are. You can find us on social media at Mental Health Dumpster Fire on TikTok and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Laver Listens.
And I am on Facebook and Instagram as The Artsy Brain.
And as always, our disclaimer is that this podcast is for educational purposes only. We cannot give you therapeutic services via this podcast or our social media, so this is not a replacement for therapy. And so don't treat it like that.
We gotta record it. And then
we will.
Have...
Anyway, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We've had the tiniest drop in temperature and humidity, and so now I'm like, it's fall, y'all.
Yep.
It's fall.
Yesterday was so nice. I went and ate outside. It was
nice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I went out with some family last night and we sat outside. It was so nice. I love it so much.
I'm ready.
And then when it's winter time, I'm like, gremlin mood.
I like late August to mid-November.
Yeah. Yes.
And then stop.
Yep. I like it up at August and then up to like Thanksgiving, and then after that I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay inside and be a hermit until winter's done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I have things happening. I did my hair and my makeup yesterday for the first time in like a long time, and it turned out the way I wanted it to, so that was nice.
Oh, yay. That feels good.
Yeah. And yeah, just hanging out, enjoying the weather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a weird time of year because all the like kids are back in school. So it's kind of like this weird limbo we're in until everyone's settled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I did get quite a few cancellations and skipped sessions because it's the first week of school, so they're not wanting to do extra things.
I mean, like first day of school for like a second grader and then trying to go to therapy right after school, they're probably exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
And don't really want to do therapy after school. Like, they want to go home.
Yeah. I did have one client that called the first day because they were like, it's Thursday. I have therapy on Thursdays. This is weird. So she called and just told me how the day was.
Oh,
so that was
that's
nice.
kind of sweet.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
Yeah. So this is another, not am I the asshole one, but another like piece of legislation kind of thing.
Okay.
Oh, hello. That's not related. But this is a new program. I was on teenvogue.com because they have good stuff. They have good articles. But yeah, so this article posted by Teen Vogue, is written by Angie Jamie, and it came out in May. But it's about a new program offers a systemic solution to America's youth mental health crisis.
Ooh.
And I won't read like every little bit of the article, but they do a good job of talking about the program. Let's see. Okay. So basically, during COVID pandemic era, mental health was kind of off the wall. Everyone had issues, of course. And there was a lot of like crisis situations too with people, but you're stuck at home and you can't do anything. So in response to that, as well as drop in overall mental health within school settings, there is this new initiative, and it's a interesting grouping of like partners in this. It's the Schultz Family Foundation that I don't really know a whole lot about, Pinterest, and then different like governors across different states in the United States, the U.S. Surgeon General. And then there's some other like mental health related nonprofits that are part of this group. But they are starting this thing called the Youth Mental Health Corps. It's basically kind of like Peace Corps, but mental health. So it's targeted towards like undergraduate age, like students and then giving them, basically it's like Peace Corps where they get kind of placed somewhere that needs mental health services, and so they're getting real world experience and like college credit, and they get certification credit as well for whatever license or certification they're going for.
Okay.
And since it's at the undergraduate age range and level, they're not getting licenses like we have.
Right.
It's kind of just like getting certifications for like their first social work degree kind of stuff.
Okay.
But
so they might be like getting like a bachelor's in social work or a
yeah.
bachelor's in psychology.
Psychology.
Or something? Okay.
I think they have like they have 3 general areas or like branches, I guess, and one of them is like more psychology related, one of them is more social work related, and then one of them was kind of like crisis intervention type stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, the program called Youth Mental Health Corps kicks off in this past May, and will deploy hundreds of trained peer mental health workers.
Okay.
18 to 24, so undergraduate age kiddos. They're adults. They work directly in schools, community organizations. The hope is that they can tackle 2 sides of this equation simultaneously, providing young people with mental health care while equipping young people who are interested in mental health with training and tangible experience. Then I went on their website, and they have this, basically it's like a presentation that talks about what they do, how to join, all that kind of stuff. The Youth Mental Health Corps is a collaborative initiative that will support youth mental health in schools and communities while giving over 500 young adult on-ramps into behavioral health careers. Their goals are to meet youth where they are and in places where help is most needed. Schools, after-school program, community health centers, and youth organizations. Another goal is to share best practices on healthy social media use, which I think is fantastic. That is one of their big goals.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of like community organizations around mental health, when they first pop up, it's just kind of like it's either crisis prevention or intervention type things, or it's just kind of like a little too maybe general, and they don't have like a specific goal like, hey, we're going to talk about healthy relationship with social media.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. They want to offer young people interested in addressing the nation's youth mental health crisis with opportunities to provide peer support while obtaining quality training, skills, experiences, and credentials. Increase capacity of schools, community-based organizations, behavioral mental health to respond to the growing youth mental health crisis. Provide supports to the most vulnerable students. So they have these 3 career pathways, or like sections, I guess. Mental health first aid, which is going to be based in schools, and they provide peer support in mental health. And then there's one that is peer support and recovery specialist certification. This will include members with lived experience as peer navigators, based in community centers, and again, like all very focused on this idea of peer support and like coaching almost. And then community health worker certification for members without lived experience, but they will be based in youth serving organizations, and provide community mental health.
Cool. So maybe like boys and girls clubs and
That's kind of what I was thinking. YMCA, safe space type things. State commissions have been given the opportunity to apply for a 2-year grant to launch their branch of the Corps within the fall of this year, or a 1-year planning grant for the fall of next year. So they're trying to provide incentive for programs to take on these mental health Corps. I'm guessing they're all students, like college students, I would assume.
Well, it looks like they get credit, college credit, so I'm assuming.
Yeah. Certification pathways offered. Number of AmeriCorps slots committed. That just means that there's several states across the country that are doing it.
Yeah, it looks like there's 4 right now, and then they plan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more for fall of 2025. That's great.
Yeah. So they have this whole like training process for each location that's or each state location that's interested. and getting it set up. Nonprofit organizations, schools, community mental health stuff. Let's see. Lots of, I mean, of course they're asking for sponsorships and donations. But a lot of young adults have been very interested. But since right now it's just like the 4 states, I think you have, I can't remember if you have to live in the state or you have to live near that state. So it's not completely like you get placed somewhere across the country. It's usually pretty close to where you already live.
Okay.
I think is what they're trying to do. And that makes sense because if someone from California got placed at a community mental health center in West Virginia, that's like a huge culture shock.
Right. And they
would be
want
hard.
lived experiences. So if
Yes.
you're not of the same culture
Right.
as
Yeah.
the people that you're serving, then
Yeah.
it's not really peer support.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be weird. I'm just thinking like if someone from like some super stereotypical Californian was like trying to teach me mental health stuff, I'd be like, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like a high schooler.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. It's like you are 18.
No, I think that's awesome. I think it's great that they're partnering with AmeriCorps because AmeriCorps, I love AmeriCorps.
Yeah.
I did something similar to AmeriCorps after
cool.
college, and they're just so I think that's really going to help them get into more places because AmeriCorps already knows how to do that. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's great that it gets them on the pathway to a behavioral mental health career.
Yes.
That's great experience.
Yes.
And that's the hardest part too, is like you have to do your internship while you're in grad school, but like that's not a whole lot of practice. So like having the actual hands-on experience going into grad school
Yeah.
would be awesome.
Because then you kind of really get to know if that's your field that you want to do and that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about that too. If this kind of thing was around when I was an undergrad and I was able to kind of like test out if this is what I wanted to do, I don't think I would change. I think I would still become a therapist and an art therapist, but I think like it would have better informed how I went through grad school.
Yeah. No, I think we'll get better therapists out of it.
Yeah.
Because they'll
have
have
more
tested it
experience.
out. They'll have known, and it won't be like a sunk cost fallacy where they're like, well, I went to school and I hate it, but I went to school, so
Right.
I might as well do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it provides like hours and credit to their college degree, whatever they get. So that's, even more incentive to do it as well. I think it's a really, really cool idea. And I'm really glad that there's already 4 plus 7 more states that are interested.
Yeah.
Whatever you were looking at, did say the state of Kentucky was participating? I
No,
don't think they
so,
were last I
yeah,
checked.
so right now they have Colorado, Michigan, Minnesota, and Texas, and then they're planning to launch in fall 2025 California, Iowa, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Utah, and Virginia.
Okay. It seems like they were maybe trying to kind of target the states with more mental health crisis issues first. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, or it could just be a matter of nonprofits that are willing to take people.
Yeah. And then the state governor has to sign off on it too.
Yeah.
They have to be involved. So that's another, mental health and politics go together, unfortunately.
So Minnesota's on the list.
Oh yeah, we like Minnesota. He's the governor, right? Of Minnesota. Yeah, we like him. Yeah, and then they're on the list. And I wonder too, like if they invited specific states first because of their governors.
Yeah, they might have
And
asked
then later on
governors,
opened it up.
Yeah, and see. Yeah. That's awesome.
I really hope that this opens up in Kentucky or just in the South in general. I feel like we get a lot of bad rep in general living in the South, but also mental health stigma is a huge issue here that I've not really seen anywhere else in this country. So it'd be really nice to have something like that so that the younger generation I guess, yeah, they're a younger generation than us, would be experiencing like what mental health services would look like and what it would be like to be a social worker in the area that they live in.
Yeah.
Um,
And in working with teens, like peer support, someone with lived experience, that's huge for teenagers.
yes. Oh, I agree.
They don't care what anybody else has to say.
No.
They don't, because you don't know what I've been through.
More often, if I have teen clients, it's by request because there's something in my bio that they relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I look like a teenager in general. I look younger. So that's a huge thing, too. Yeah, and I mean, they're not going to listen to an older adult who doesn't have the same lived experience as they do.
Right.
They're just not going to. And that's totally valid. You don't have to. So, and just peer support in general is such a powerful tool that I don't think we use enough.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the issues of red tape, of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
But I think this is a good way to get around the red tape and make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see how this program works.
No, I
and
think
if they
that's
come
awesome.
here.
It's awesome that they're going to be offering it through the schools and community nonprofits, because that's going to be huge for accessibility.
Yes.
And peer support is awesome, because I'm always trying to get kids I'm always trying to get kids connected with like mentors,
yeah.
but they're hard to find.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because it's not like there's no like a job application for it.
Well, there's some agencies that do it, but they don't have a whole lot of options because it's volunteer based mostly.
Yeah.
And there's not a guarantee that you're going to get matched with a mentor that has the same lived experience as you do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is awesome just to get more bodies out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that they're being placed in schools because we have guidance counselors in schools. We have like psychologists assigned to schools. But having someone like boots on the ground style in a school doing that is going to make a bigger impact faster.
Yep.
Because honestly, in a perfect world, I feel like every school should have their own psychologist or therapist on staff in addition to guidance counselors, because then that distributes the workload of those jobs more evenly, and that means that they're able to do a better job.
Yeah. It's hard to get a psychiatrist or a psychologist
Yeah.
to come to a school and do
Yeah.
all, like, oh my gosh. Psychological assessments are like the biggest need. I feel like, or one of the biggest needs.
I can't tell you how many times I called mobile assessments when I was working in public schools. It's like, my hands are tied. I can't do it. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, it's rough. But yeah, in a perfect world, there would be, therapists in every school.
Yeah.
And some school districts are getting better about that. They're not necessarily hired as therapists at the school, but I know there's like mental health professionals at a lot of schools now, especially around here, where they have a job separate from the counselors, and they do more of the like on-site assessment type need, like teaching wellness in classrooms and like helping teachers teach wellness, and also like helping teachers with their own wellness.
Right.
and
Oh,
stuff like that.
I love when people do that.
Oh yeah. So I'm super excited for this program.
Yeah.
To see where it goes.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that gets young people involved and gives young people resources, I'm all about it.
Yes.
So it sounds awesome.
And yeah, again, I love that they have a very specific set up goal for social media use in teens and how to do that appropriately and safely and healthily.
Yeah.
So that's exciting too.
Cool.
Very cool stuff.
Thanks for bringing that to everybody's attention. That's awesome.
Yes.
And if you know an 18 to 24-year-old who's interested in mental
Yeah.
health, look into it, because you don't get paid a lot, but you do get a stipend. And AmeriCorps or Peace Corps or any kind of agency like that, it's a really good opportunity.
Yes. Yeah. Again, you get a lot of experience, a lot of on the ground experience, a lot of training, and they offer certifications. Like, that's pretty invaluable when you're an undergrad, where you have to take Math 101 and silly things like that. Mm-hmm. But then you get to do this at the same time. So it's kind of not a better use of time, but it helps you get through, I think, a little better too.
Yeah. And you get to meet other people who are doing similar things and meet people from other places. Your whole outlook is expanded.
Yes.
Just doing something like that. So I support it.
Good stuff.
Cool.
I wanted to draw attention to and I keep mixing up the actual name of it. Youth Mental Health Corps.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. youthmentalhealthcorps.org. If you go there, you can join the movement, which I think they just send you information. And you can select what state you're interested in serving. Colorado, Michigan, Minnesota, Texas. You can select other and put your own state. I think that's a good way to show interest. And then you can select what kind of setting that you would want to work in. School, after school, community, a health clinic, or peer support or recovery centers. And then which certification path you're interested in.
Yeah. Well, I'll change the vibe a little bit.
Let's go for it.
Because there is this this post on Reddit that was posted a couple months ago. Well, actually, it says the original post was February 13th, 2024. So it's been a while.
Okay.
And then they posted it on this, it's called Best of Redditor Updates.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a subreddit, so it's got more information on it.
I rely on that for updates because I can never remember usernames or who originally posted what. So that is helpful.
And the title of it is I Was Rejected Because I Told My Interviewer I Never Make Mistakes. He's just got an interesting mindset.
I mean, right off the bat, I already have problems, but okay.
So they say, I guess I shouldn't assume he's a man, but okay.
We'll see if they self-identify or not, but
so this is the original post from February 2024. Okay. I was rejected from a role for not answering an interview question. I had all the skills they asked for, and the recruiter and hiring manager loved me. Excuse me. I had a final round of interviews, a peer on the hiring team, a peer from another team that I would work closely with, and the director of both teams. So my would-be grand boss, which I thought was weird. And then finally a technical test with the hiring manager I had already spoken to. I don't know if it matters, but I'm male.
There we go.
And everyone I interviewed with was female. The interviews went great, except the grand boss. I've never heard that term before.
I haven't either. It's kind of funny, though.
Yeah. I asked why she was interviewing me, since it was a technical position, and she was clearly some kind of middle manager. Why would you ask that? Why would you ask that in an interview?
Yeah.
She's there because she needs to know that you're going to do a good job. What?
Yeah, if she's
the director
boss
of the teams that you would be working on and working closely with.
Yeah, so you should be excited that she's there. She's taking interest. And I mean, that also means that she's willing to meet people in person.
Yeah.
Which is huge for me when people are willing to do that, but
yeah.
Okay.
She told me she had a technical background, although she's been in management for 10 years, so it's not like her experience was even relevant.
Oh my God. Okay.
But that she was interviewing for things like communication, ability to prioritize, and soft skills. I still thought it was weird to interview with my boss's boss. Okay, you think it's weird.
You can have an opinion, but
you don't have
maybe keep it to yourself.
It can be an inside thought. Yeah.
Especially in an interview. Like,
Yeah. She asked pretty standard and boring questions, which I aced. But then she asked me to tell her about the biggest mistake I've made in my career and how I handled it. This is a very common interview question.
yeah, like, what are your weaknesses? What are mistakes you've made? How have you overcome them?
Yep.
Every interview I've ever had has something like that.
Yep. I told her I'm a professional and I don't make mistakes. And she argued with me.
Yeah.
She said everyone makes mistakes, but what matters is how you handle them and prevent the same mistake from happening in the future. I told her maybe she made mistakes as a developer.
Oh my God.
But since I actually went to school for it, I didn't have that problem. She seemed fine with it, and we moved on with the interview.
I don't think she was fine with it. She probably was like, I don't have the energy to talk to you right now.
Nope.
Oh my God.
A couple of days later, the recruiter emailed me to say that they had decided to go with someone else. I asked for feedback on why I wasn't chosen, and she said there were other candidates who were stronger. I wrote back and asked if the grand boss had been the reason I didn't get the job, and she just told me again that the hiring panel made the decision to hire someone else. So I looked up the grand boss on LinkedIn after the rejection.
My God.
And
The
she was a
audacity.
developer at 2 industry leaders and then an executive at a third. She was also connected to a number of well-known C-level people in our city and industry. I'm thinking of mailing her on LinkedIn to explain why her question was wrong and asking if she'll consider me for future positions at her company. But my wife says it's a bad idea. What do you think about me mailing her to try to explain?
Listen to your wife. That's what I think. Wow. The audacity here is astounding.
The confidence in yourself is something.
There is such thing as too much confidence. And what happens then is that you come off like an asshole.
Yeah.
Because your confidence is too much because it's incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Be confident in the things that you're confident you can do. But this sounds like this sounds like there was a lot of other stuff going on in the background of his brain.
Sounds like misogyny.
Yes, thank you.
Sounds like sounds like misogyny.
Yeah.
Sounds like overconfidence. And sounds like I don't know if there's an official word for a bias towards people who have gone to school versus haven't gone to school, because that was part of his thing was that he said, I don't make mistakes because I actually went to school to be a developer and you didn't. So
I hate that a lot because that doesn't mean that one person is better than the other at their job. The fact that she is your grand boss and has held high positions for so long without the same education as you maybe means she's more qualified and like better at it than you, because she didn't need to go to school for it. Yeah.
yeah, there's school smart and then there's experience smart.
I mean, I was really good in school I was really good at history and art history and like all about it. I was really good at it. And then the practical application of that is very small. And then when I tried to do those very limited things, I was terrible at it.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, yeah, I went to school and I learned the basics of therapy, but then I got into therapy with a client and I was like, oh.
It's very different. IRL.
You are not the exact way that would be presented in a textbook. What do I do?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so
I can't.
I couldn't help but giggle at this person. However, it made me think about people who ask questions about people's neurodiversity based on an assumption. So, what do you think about people who lack social skills or are maybe a little bit full of themselves or lack humility and them being labeled as narcissists or autistic?
You mean like people just assuming that they're a narcissist or autistic?
Yeah, like reading this and then being like, well, maybe he's autistic because a neurotypical person wouldn't have spoken to people like that. And it's like, well, let's not assume that autistic people are going to talk to people like that.
Yeah, first of all, people can be autistic and not a misogynist. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Yeah, I feel like, not to sound like old or like a boomer, but nowadays a lot of people tend to slap something like narcissism or some kind of label like autism when presented with something like that on social media. And that's not correct. Mm-hmm. You're assuming a person has a diagnosis without really any relevant information that could lead to a diagnosis.
Right.
I would diagnose him as a misogynistic butthead. But who needs maybe someone to educate him on why, why the interviewer said no and why they didn't want him to come back. Maybe a little reality check.
Yeah.
But people too readily will be like, oh, he's a narcissist. That's what I hear all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a difference between being a little selfish and maybe a little kind of like a jerk. You can be a jerk, but you're not a narcissist.
Yeah.
You can be a narcissist and not a jerk.
True.
That is a thing that people are diagnosed with. That is, their brain works different. And it's not inherently bad.
Yeah. And if this was my client, if a client had come to me and told me this story, I would not be laughing in the session because
unless I knew them really
I would
well.
say, you are my client. I'm going to look for your strengths and I'm going to build on those. So let's take the fact that you were very confident in this job. This was your second interview or final round of interviews. Mm-hmm. And you were very confident about your answer, mm-hmm. but you were rejected. We'll focus on those things. And, I can teach social skills and I can teach certain things. Whether you accept them or not is up to you. However,
right.
This person is not my client, so I can say whatever I want.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If this were my client, I would not be calling them an asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely be treating them, treating them differently. I would be talking to them differently about this process of their interview and like what they got out of it and kind of get some more self-reflection going on.
Yeah. Because if it was my client, maybe I would explore, do you have a diagnosis? Do you have other things going on in your life or other criteria that would mm-hmm. meet a diagnosis? Or do you just need education about women in your field mm-hmm. and how they can be successful? Yeah. So we are looking at a very, very small snapshot of this person's life.
Yes.
And yes, judging, but you put it online, so...
Also, this is what the entire podcast is about.
Right.
Y'all. So
yeah,
we're gonna judge a little.
Yeah. So here's the update. This was in June of 2024. Thank you for answering my question. I've read some of the comments, but I don't think people really understood my point of view. I'm very methodical and analytic, which is why I said I don't make mistakes. You can be methodical and analytic and make mistakes. And you do because you're a person.
Yeah. You can be a chaotic, unorganized individual and not make as many mistakes as someone who's analytical and methodical.
Yeah. So. It's just not normal for me. It's just not normal to me for people to think making mistakes is okay. Yeah.
There's a therapeutic topic
right
there.
Yeah, we can unpack that. Mm-hmm. I did follow your advice to not mail the grand boss on LinkedIn.
Okay. Good.
Until I discovered...
No.
She seems to have gotten me blackballed in our field. Despite numerous resume submissions and excellent phone screens, I have been unable to secure employment. I know my resume and cover letter are great. I followed your advice. And during the phone screens, the interviewer always likes me. So it's obvious she told all her friends about me, and I'm being blackballed. Is it obvious? I did email her on LinkedIn after I realized what she'd done.
Oh.
And while she was polite in her response, she refused to admit she's told everyone my name. She suggested it's just a tough job market. It is. And there are a lot of really qualified developers looking for jobs. She mentioned that layoffs at places like Twitter and Facebook.
Okay.
But it just seems too much of a coincidence that as soon as she refused to hire me, no one else wanted to hire me either. Did you have a job? Why were you looking for a job if you didn't need employment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also messaged the hiring manager on LinkedIn to ask her to tell her boss to stop talking about me, but I didn't receive a response. You're making an assumption, and then you're talking to everybody as if that assumption is true.
I have a headache.
I've considered mailing some of her connections on LinkedIn to find out what she's saying about me, but I don't know if it would do any good. If she's not talking about you, what are they gonna think when you tell them
Paranoid.
they didn't hire me?
Wow.
And it has to be because she's talking bad about me, not because I'm a bad candidate.
This is very classic privileged white man doesn't get what he wants, and so therefore puts the blame and purposing on everyone else, but especially the women involved.
Yeah. I'm very frustrated by this whole thing.
Me too.
I understand that she didn't like me, but I don't think it's fair to get me blackballed everywhere. You don't know that.
No.
I've been talking to my wife about going back to school for my master's instead of working, but she's worried it'll be a waste of money and won't make me any more employable. Sometimes that's true.
Yeah, depends on what field you're in and what you're trying to get at, what you're trying to work at, I guess.
I've explained that having a master's is desirable in technology and will make me a more attractive candidate, but she's not convinced. If you have any advice on how to explain to her why it's a good idea,
God.
I would be grateful. Not advice to help him become more employable.
How to convince his wife that he needs to go back to school. He's very hung up on this, like, school. My schooling and my education is going to get me ahead.
Yeah, he's one of those people that he gets an idea and then he cannot let it go.
Freaking Pitbull over here, over his over his job.
Yeah, he's just he's one of those people that's like, I have an idea, so now that's my hyper focus and I can only think about that until it's accomplished.
Because the alternative is that he didn't get hired because he wasn't good for the job.
Yeah.
And he can't. That causes too much cognitive dissonance in his brain for him to deal with it.
Yes, he never makes mistakes. So
right. Oh, yeah, we've got those two conflicting factoids, two conflicting beliefs of life happening.
Yep.
And so he's leaning real hard into the I don't make mistakes.
Because if he never makes mistakes, it had to have been
someone else.
Her choice because she didn't like him, so she must be blackballing him. It couldn't have been that he made a mistake and then made more mistakes on his following interviews that didn't call him back.
Yeah. Misogyny is exhausting. How does...
And I know that it's, this is a stressful situation to be in. You're looking for employment, and the job market is terrible.
Yes.
Because I know people who are looking for jobs, and it's impossible. And they're posting, like, fake listings because they just want to see what happens or something. I don't understand why they do that, but yeah, it's impossible to get a job. And so it could be that.
I mean, that might be a portion of it, but it's not the larger portion, I think, in this situation.
Yeah.
It's a very small percentage of the pie chart. Oh my goodness.
This person quoted, "I don't make mistakes," and said, "I don't know, man, looks like you just made several."
Yeah. Let's catalog the mistakes made in this situation.
Yeah. And also
wow.
part of an interview is testing to see if you would fit in with the culture of the environment of that workplace. So in addition to your experience and your ability to do the job description well, they also want to know that they're going to enjoy working with you, especially if they have lots of options, qualified options. They're going to go with the person that they like the best.
Yeah.
So,
and it sounds like it was a position involving working on a team, which means that you're going to have to use social skills and talk to people and be personable.
Right.
And if that's not in your ability, then maybe you need to either build those skills or look at alternative workplaces where you just work by yourself, like from home maybe or something.
Right.
Which, honestly, he might enjoy that better.
Yeah, he might, because you went into this job interview with some hostility of asking a person why she's there, why she would be the one interviewing, arguing with her about her experience, and arguing with her about her questioning. Like,
if that were a man, it would be not
this
that.
True. If it was a man that was interviewing her, he would not have questioned it. He would have assumed that even if he didn't know what the purpose of them being there, he would have assumed that it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And he would have, even if he didn't understand the question, he would have been like, well, he must have a reason.
Yeah.
So I'll answer it.
He's been working, in the field for a really long time, and even though he didn't go to school and get the same level of education as me, he obviously does really good at his job because he's been here for long and held really high positions. That is also the same thing because it's a woman. Mm-hmm. All of that is still true.
It's all still true. And
just because she's a woman, that doesn't change that.
And I bet if it had been a man that asked what your biggest mistake was, he probably would have answered the same way of like, I don't make mistakes, but he wouldn't have argued with a man about his answer.
Because if a man had challenged him the same way that this woman, grand boss woman, did, then he probably would have reflected on his own perspective more.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I typically don't see like middle-aged men as clients, and it's not to say that I don't,
it's not
or
your
like
niche.
Won't, but it's not my niche, first of all. Yeah. And then second of all, it's just very, I don't know, people like him who are in therapy would benefit more from a man as a therapist,
possibly,
and that's fine.
Well, or, they might benefit from a woman therapist who just has a different presentation than I do, because whatever it is, like me giving a man facts about misogyny, he's going to be like, okay.
Right. And that's what I would do.
I'm a very small, feminine looking person, so like my opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't typically get adult men who want to see me as a client, but I also don't advertise myself as someone who sees adult men. But I think I still come across it in parents of clients, and there have been a couple times when I'm trying to talk to a father about approaching their child in a different way, and they're like, well, that's just not how I parent. It's like, okay, you don't have to. I'm just telling you what's gonna work.
Yeah, I'm just providing you some information and resources, and then ultimately it's up to you. But I will let you know that it will work if you do it this way instead.
And I've had to stop working with some parents because I've told them, like, this is what I feel like will work. You don't want to do that. That's your prerogative. There's nothing more for me to do.
Yeah, that's kind of the end of therapy at that point.
Yeah.
If the client is not able or refuses to do the work, do the things, then all done.
Yeah. And I had to do that a couple times when I was in a family preservation.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, sometimes I would go in and they'd be like, it would be my first time there, and I'd be like, your CPS worker would like me to help you with parenting. And they'll be like, no. Okay.
Bye.
Well,
here's my card if you change your mind.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And I just might not have the personality that is very convincing of certain men. Yeah. Which is fine. Because as much as it's not my niche, I also don't really care to do that.
Same, yeah.
I don't care to educate men about misogyny and the patriarchy. I don't care to do it because it's exhausting.
No, I don't think we... it's so tricky. Tricky? I don't even know if it's tricky. It's just like part of our existence as being therapists is that our goal is to make sure that everyone is being happy and healthy and coping well. But that also includes us, right? So we can't take on every client, you know? And if something pops up in a session that is that's going to impair the therapeutic relationship, which I feel like if he was like on my intake list, I would have to refer him to someone else, I think. Mm-hmm. I would have to be like, look, I don't think we're going to be a super great fit. But I know plenty of people who would be a good fit. Mm-hmm. Like, whoa.
It was a lot, and I love that he started his update with, I don't think you understand where I'm coming from. No, we're just disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
We're allowed to disagree and then move on.
And just because we disagree doesn't mean I don't understand. I understand your point of view. It's just incorrect.
Yeah. It just wasn't great. And it's fine. You can disagree with people, and just like if neither of you can come to a conclusion, you can move on. I will say, though, the only time that I don't accept that is if I'm being actively like hated on or oppressed in some way.
Sure.
Then I'm like, okay, now it's a problem because this is all like my safety is involved.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna let that happen.
That's fair.
But yeah, you don't have to agree with people. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, disagreement provides some interesting discourse in which you might learn something. Mm-hmm. It just sounds like, again, he's got these core beliefs about himself that he's refusing to adjust or change, and therefore it's making everything else in his life kind of a little messed up.
Yeah, it's very inflexible, because even his original post, he asked, should I email the lady? And then he said, okay, well, I didn't do it until I did. Yeah.
So you didn't take the advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that his post was like, here's a whole bunch of this context, blah, 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 blah. But I want to know, do you think I should email her and let her know? That's like talking to a friend about like some like guy you met on Tinder, and you're casually talking to him, and you're like, you give them all this backstory of like your first date, blah, 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 and then you're like, so should I call him? And I'm like, I don't know. Why'd you tell me so much story that wasn't necessary?
Yeah. Or it's like when your friend is telling you about their Tinder date, and you're like, okay, so here's the 20 red flags I heard in that story. And they're like, okay, well, I think I'm going to see him again.
I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Like, I'm like keeping track mentally. I'm like, flag, 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 flag. And then they're like, so should I go on a second date? No. Here's the flags. Goes on a date. Mm-hmm. And it goes terribly.
Yeah. And then they're like, can I bring him to your wedding?
No. 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 That was a little trickery because I'm planning a wedding.
Sorry.
No.
Sometimes I'm glad, a lot of times I'm glad that I don't work in typical corporate America.
Oh my God. Same. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Working in a school felt like I was working in corporate America. So I was done with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Wow.
Yes. That's what I got for you today.
Wow.
Should we recommend some things?
Yes.
My recommendation is a YouTube channel but they have a bunch of different resources. It's called How to ADHD.
Oh, I need that.
And it's very, again, digestible.
Appreciate it.
And they bring on experts as well as like listeners sometimes.
Ooh, cool.
To talk about like their ADHD hacks.
Mm-hmm.
They have like they do have a book about ADHD and different like techniques that you could use to help you with executive functioning things, but the channel is very much like very specific topics.
Gotcha.
So I'll actually look up just some examples of some videos. They have How to Start a Conversation is the most recent one that they did. Our 5 favorite ADHD strategies. Those were like hacks. Why some strategies and tools don't work for people with ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
ADHD and pregnancy. How to cope with rumination. ADHD and trauma. ADHD and social skills. So they have a bunch of different things, as well as
awesome.
Like some of them they throw in like, here are some ADHD memes that we can laugh at. So
Oh, yeah. Appreciate some levity.
yeah. So they have a website, they've got a book called How to ADHD. Yeah. So it's pretty like interesting, and the videos are like 15 minutes long. Some of them are a little bit longer, but
super digestible.
Yeah. Like their pregnancy one is long, but you know, if it is something that you need, I'm sure you can watch it in chunks if you need to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's great. I might use some of those videos in sessions with clients.
Yeah.
Just
They're
some like psychoeducation type things.
yeah, they're good. So yeah.
What's it called?
It's called How to ADHD.
How to ADHD. I'm going to have to follow them immediately or I'll forget. So my recommendation this week is another art therapist and another Canadian art therapist. Her name is Amelia Knott. Actually, I've been following her on Instagram and TikTok since before I went to grad school. So I first started following her during COVID. She was doing these like online virtual sessions, and they weren't therapy sessions. It was just kind of, she would come on to Zoom or whatever, and she would have a prompt of the day, and then she would encourage us to create some kind of art with that prompt of the day.
Cool.
And it was really helpful during COVID of like just trying to like get through the pandemic. But she has continued doing that and now has this like monthly, you can pay for 1 month. And they meet every week on, I think it's Zoom or something like that. And she does the same thing. And it's this whole program now that she does every month. And she has a theme each month of what you're going to work on. So like one time it was, I think self-care was one. And then the other one was how to bring creativity in your everyday life. So she has different themes. You can sign up for whatever theme you're interested in. And it's really, really cool. But also she has these really great videos of like art processes that you can do at home. Which the other art therapist, Birchwood Art Therapy, that I recommended, she does the same thing too. Amelia's does it, and she's very, she shows you how she does it for herself, which is cool. And she talks very candidly about her feelings and her experiences and things like that. And right now, where she lives in Canada, they're experiencing wildfires, and she's had to evacuate her home. So she's in this kind of, it's in a community space with a bunch of other people that were evacuated, and she started this community art project.
Wow.
That involves all these evacuees from the wildfire. So she is an art therapist through and through.
Yeah.
She is making art everywhere she goes and helping people learn that art as a process is therapeutic, not just like, it's not finger painting or like drawing how you feel. It's a whole process.
Yeah.
So her videos are really, really cool. And she does like her series of therapeutic art that you can do at home is really cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll have to check that out.
Yep.
That out. Cool. So what is her handle?
Oh, her handle is Art Therapy IRL.
Okay.
Art-therapy-IRL. And her name is Amelia Knott. She has a website and a blog and stuff like that too.
Cool. It'll be linked in the show notes. And yeah, I think that's awesome. I like the idea of community mental health is so important. So like her doing that for the evacuees, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope that she gets to go home soon because that's scary and not great.
Yeah.
But I love that she's doing her best and doing things to help other people while she's there.
Yeah. Yay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode. Oh, we forgot to celebrate our double digits.
Oh my gosh.
We miscounted. Last week was episode 10. This is episode 11. Ooh, we did it.
Double-digit episodes.
We're basically experts.
Wow. At podcasting? I don't know. We're trying.
We're experts at our field, and that's why we're here doing this podcast. Yes. So we hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you will join us again. We have exciting things coming up for you
very soon.
Yes. Yeah. And so share us with your friends so that they can be here when the exciting things happen.
Yes.
And have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Goodbye.